Right, hi again folks, it's Monday again and we're going to carry on with the car. Now, I said the other day about breaking large tasks down into small ones so that they don't overwhelm you. So what I'm going to do is each day I'm going to set my target, which I'll put on the screen, and we'll see if we can achieve that target. So today's target is going to be to get the bonnet in primer. Now there's a bit of filler work around that wheel arch where I've welded it up, and there's a little bit of filler work around that wheel arch as well. So my target is going to be prep that filler and get it in primer. Now I'm quite late starting today, don't know why, got up early, things happened and I just didn't get here that early. So I may or may not make my target, but that's the target I'm aiming for. Now, while we're looking at this slightly short sill, I've got two choices with this. I've either got to lengthen it by welding a few mil into it. Now, I had a message from one of my viewers with a very good idea. Instead of trying to weld in the very small amount that it needs to extend it, a better way would be to cut it, chop out 30, 40, 50 mil, and then weld in a larger piece. That'll be a lot easier than just trying to weld in a very narrow strip. Good idea, appreciate that. However, I'm not going to do that because I really hate this sill. I do not like, I don't know if you can see it, you can see it. There's a crease here, which isn't meant to be there. The sills are meant to be round. They're not meant to have a crease in them. They're supposed to be smooth. I don't know why they've got a crease in them, but that's not how they were originally. So I'd have to beat the crease out and lengthen the sill, and I can't be bothered when I've got the old sills. Now, there was nothing wrong with these sills. All that was wrong with them was they had a bit of light surface rust on them. There's no rot holes. There's no reason I can't put them back on. I was just being lazy. Because I bought a spares package off a chap which had the sills in it, I thought I'd use them, but I'm not going to. I'm going to use these sills, I'm going to paint them, and I'm going to put them back on. So I've shot the insides of them with a coat of stone chip. It's almost the right colour, really doesn't need painting, but I'll flash a bit of paint over them. While I'm priming the bonnet later on, I'll flip the sills over and I'll give them a coat of primer so they're ready to go on. So apart from doing the bonnet, that's the actual task for today, the target. I will, while I'm waiting for filler and paint to dry, remove the sills. The other job I'm going to do is prep one of the most awkward things on the car to paint, which is the I was going to say quarter lights, but I'll tell you why they're not quarter lights in a second. This one I've done already, and it's already stripped, ready to go. This one needs stripping. You can try and mask them and paint them, and it's a nightmare. It's much easier just to strip them down. It's only a couple of fixings. Take them to bits, take the rubber out, paint them, put them back together again. They do have, at the top here, the top hinge is from the factory, a special type of rivet. Now, you can't get these anymore, and I've tried various ways of doing it. They're not successful. There's a little kit you can buy, which is a new bolt and thing that goes on it. Does a really nice job. It has a little brass bush that goes in there. Or the other way you can do it is just with a very fine nut and bolt. As long as it works, it depends how critical you want to be about originality. So the first thing I'm going to do with this, before I do anything else on the car, is give this nut down here a good soaking in WD-40. These are notorious for snapping off. They're very fine. It's got a very fine thread on it, and they will seize up and they will snap off. So before I even try and get it off, I'm going to let it soak for a while in WD-40, and then I'll put a little bit of heat on it before I start to undo it. So, first job, that's done. Now, get back to the filler work on the bonnet and try and get the bonnet ready for primer. So, I nearly forgot to tell you why these aren't quarter lights. In the car glazing industry, every piece of glass obviously has a name. A wind down window is a drop glass, windscreen, heated rear window, whatever. With these types of glass, they have two identifications. One is quarter light and one is vent. Now, you might realise why. A quarter light is one of these that's a fixed piece of glass, i.e., say a two-door Fiesta where you have a rear window by the seats. That is a quarter light. That is a quarter light because it's a fixed piece of glass. However, if they open, they're not a quarter light, they're a vent. And that is the correct term for them in the glass trade. So I'll probably still say quarter light because it's habit, but these aren't quarter lights, these are vents. Right, I'm going to take the bonnet catch back out so I can sand that bit, and then I get that finished off, and then I can put another little skim over it. That's all the sanding done. Need to mix up tiny little bit of filler and just skim over a few bits of it. What's quite surprising is there's a lot of little digs in the bonnet here which were under the factory paint. I don't know if they came from manufacturer or what, but while I was filling them, I filled a little dent I didn't even know was there. So that's good, it's got rid of that one. If you haven't done filler work before, the mix is a golf ball of filler to a pea of hardener, so about that much. And then just blend it all in until you get a slightly pink mix and you know it's all blended in nicely. I don't know how much I'm going to need here, not an awful lot, so this should be plenty. And then just smooth it over the bits that need it. We'll start up here, there's a little bit there, and then just work down. Make sure you get it fully into any holes or crevices. Just keep working it in. There's only a few little holes here that need filling. Right, that's it skimmed over. It'll take 20 minutes to dry off in this weather. It's a bit cool today. Hopefully that'll be it. I'll be able to prime over it. Because the primer I use is a primer filler, it will fill any minor imperfections. If you've got a tiny pinhole or a tiny scratch, it will fill those in for you. So we'll let it harden off and flat it again, and hopefully we should be ready for primer. Now, while we're waiting for it to harden, we'll go on to the door quarter light vents, which I'll tell you about. Right, I'm going to give this a wire brush, try and clean this thread up a bit. Now there's a little metal tab, where is it, just here. You need to bend that back so that you can release the nut. That way. Right, so we've got the tab away from the nut, and we'll just see if it will move. Sometimes they will, sometimes they won't. That's very tight. I'm going to put a bit of heat on it first of all. Now unfortunately my gas torch has run out of gas, so I'm going to try it with a hot air gun. It's not exactly going to get it glowing, but it might put enough heat on it to get it to loosen up. Because you've got the spring there, that puts a lot of tension on that nut, so it does make it really hard to get off. Now that is quite hot. You can actually see it's smouldering the WD-40 that I put on earlier, so it's got quite warm. Nope. Snap clean off. Oh well, just grind the end of the rivet off. You can file it off. Because I've got an air tool, I'll use that. Right, so just ground the end off, tapped it out, and now it's out. I'm going to keep this bit if I can get it off, because if I put a bolt back in, I can use the little brass bush, plastic bush, what is it? It's brass. Use the little brass bush. I can pull that bit out. And that's your vent out. And then you can pull out the rubber. Now I'm going to use this one again. It's not in bad condition, and to be honest, the new ones I'm not overly impressed with, so I will use that again. Top one can stay on, top hinge can stay on. This clip for the opening vent, you can either take this off or leave it on and mask it. I'm going to take it off. I'm going to take the rivets out and then I'll re-rivet it afterwards. That's it, off it comes. The rivets, I'll drill them out and then I'll just put it back on with normal pop rivets afterwards. These are nice. With the glass, you can take them out, or they're fairly easy to mask up and leave in. And to be honest, these ones are all right. The rubber's really nice around them. I'm going to leave them in and just mask them up. There's no need to take those out. So I've got my two vents and I've got my two frames. Once again, the channel, I'm going to try and take it out. I don't like the new channels you're supplied with. They're too thick and they tend to jam up on the glass. So there we go. And although that's pinched up, when you straighten it out, it flattens back out again. So I'm going to put that back in. I'll keep that. So that's one out. That one's ready. Have a look at the seal on this one. Now that one's out already. I've already taken that one out. So basically, those two are both ready for paint, ready for prep and paint now. Right, let's go back to the bonnet. My filler's not quite dry yet, so I'm going to take these awful sills off while I'm waiting. I've taken the new sill off and I've refitted the old one, and as you can see it lines up. So if anybody wants a pair of brand new sills with modified tabs ready to fit that doesn't really fit because it's a bit short, I've got a pair of them for sale cheap. Right, time for a bit of lunch and then we'll come back, flat the filler and hopefully get a coat of primer on the bonnet. The time has come. Mix some primer up and get a coat of primer over it. It's all flatted down, so primer time. Now I've shown this before, but I'll show it again. This is Pro XL Generation 20 Primer Filler. I'm not sponsored by them, I just love this product. It's a 4:1 primer filler. That's the one. It's 4 parts paint to 1 part hardener, and when you get it, it's like treacle. So you've got to give it a real good stir up, which takes for ages. So I'll take. Right, 5 minutes stirring later, and it's about ready to use. It's still lovely and thick. I've got my mask on because this stuff absolutely stinks. This mask is no good for spraying in, but it's good enough for stirring and doing this. Now it's a big bonnet, so I'm going to mix up 2 pots. You need it 4:1. So if you go on the pot, it has, I don't know if you can see it there, it's got markings on it. These are 4 and these are 1. So 4 parts paint to 1 part primer. So I'm going to mix up 2 lots because I know I'm going to need a lot to paint this bonnet. So I'm going to do 2 lots. Oh, God. I'm going right up to the top of the pot. It's going to use most of this. So that's 4. And that's 4. And that's used most of a pot of primer, not counting the little bit I spilt on the bench. You always want gloves on for this and have a rag handy to mask up any spills. So now we're going to use the hardener. So we want to take that up to the next 1 mark. Which is there. And there. And that should use most of the hardener. Right, so now we're back on stirring. Now I'm going to use Old Faithful for this. This is my suction gun. I like this gun for priming. So I've not thinned this yet, and I haven't got much room in the pot to thin it. So I'm going to pop it into the gun. I've covered the one I'm not using up with a spare cup so I don't get too much dirt in it. And then I'm just going to give it a splash of thinner until I'm happy with the consistency of it. So just give it a little splash of thinner. Give it a stir. And that should be, that's just where I want it, that's spot on.